Hello again, Toastmasters, and welcome to part 3 of today's video series on the new member journey. Now, in this section, we're going to talk about awareness, which tends to be one of the biggest stumbling blocks for a lot of clubs when it comes to building membership. Because when you think about it, one of the most common complaints that we hear about people for Toastmasters is that it's the world's best kept secret. And that's a challenge for us because if people don't know that Toastmasters exists, they certainly can't come and join our clubs. And so, as I say, one of our very, very big barriers for every club out there, because if people don't know about Toastmasters, it's not just our own clubs that they can't join or they won't join, it's every club out there in the world. And so awareness is therefore the second part of the new member journey. It's after we've identified the target market, the type of people that we want in our club, the next step is to bring Toastmasters to them, to make them aware of not just Toastmasters, but also specifically our club. So it's all about getting the Toastmasters name, the logo, our club name in front of those people, rather than just waiting for them to one day sort of figure out that Toastmasters is a thing. We need to be proactive about getting it out there. And so again, there are a number of different things that we can think about in this space when it comes to how do we make more people aware, or how do we make our people, the type of people that we want in our club, aware of Toastmasters and what it can do for them. There are a number of things that we can think through. So the first is to locate where your target market spends their time. So we've, in part 1 or part 2, we came up with our target market for our club. So where do they spend their time? Where do they get together? And not just physically. So for instance, if your target market is students, then they probably get together quite a lot at university or on campus or so on and so forth. But also have a think about where they spend most of their time online as well, because that's another opportunity to get Toastmasters in front of their face. For example, perhaps it's Facebook, maybe it's Snapchat, or if you have a target market of professionals, perhaps LinkedIn might be an online space where they spend a lot of their time. But then on top of some of those social media things, you've also got other online groups as well. Perhaps it's a meetup group or a social group or an online discussion forum. It could be anything. But when you think about your target market and what they're interested in and where they're going to for their information, not just offline, but also online, where do they spend those time at that time? Because this is how you can maximize your marketing out into the real world, is by leveraging some of those groups and networks. It can be very time consuming and be very expensive to be going around and having conversations with potential members one by one by one by one by one by one by one. It can take a lot of time and effort, which most clubs and most members honestly don't have. I mean, we have lives outside of Toastmasters too. And so if we can find those force multipliers, if we can find those existing groups, those existing networks where our target market gathers already, then it becomes a lot easier for us to get Toastmasters in front of them. For example, think about young professionals. There are a number of young professional groups and networks out there. By having a conversation with the organizer or one of the organizers of that group, we can convince them or sell them on the value of Toastmasters to their members, and they will then do all of the extra work to market Toastmasters and your club to their members. So for instance, these groups may be as big as hundreds, several thousand members or beyond. And by having a conversation with one person, you can get Toastmasters in front of all of those people for a lot less effort. Now, that's something that you may want to consider for your club. So think about those online networks, think about the offline ones too, churches, community groups, other organizations which have similar values or similar offerings to what Toastmasters is. Have a think about where those can naturally intersect and where they naturally complement what Toastmasters does. Because once you've worked out, again, where your target market spends their time, the next step is to go after them and not just, as I said before, wait for them to come and find your club. It's to actually bring Toastmasters to them. So use those different mediums, use those networks, use social media, use offline marketing methods, posters, flyers, brochures, word of mouth, all of those things, use those proactively, and not just the VP membership or the VP public relations, not just the club executive, but every single member should be involved in this process, in spreading the word about Toastmasters and your club, because word of mouth referrals are by far your best asset when it comes to marketing. A recommendation from a friend or a family member or a colleague or a boss even is going to carry a lot more weight in encouraging people to potentially investigate further about Toastmasters than your members as strangers getting the message in front of other people. And so encouraging all of your members to go out there and have those conversations with their own personal networks and their own professional networks can create force multipliers that will bring even more awareness to a wider number of people than if individual members were just going off and having conversations one after one after one. And when you're having those conversations, the key thing there is, as much as possible, not to try and have a blanket approach, a one size fits all, just using the standard Toastmasters marketing and wording and so on, but to really tailor that message to who your target market is. For example, if you are going after working professionals, talking up the different elements of what Toastmasters offers, what the value is to a career professional, all of those different skill sets and those promotional opportunities and how people have grown in their career and where they've wanted to go with their different skill sets. Focus on that, because that's going to connect the Toastmasters message and the offerings of Toastmasters with your target market and their needs. And that is going to be different for every target market that you have. You can't just use that same broad brush approach. Work out what it is about Toastmasters that's going to interest those people the most and focus on that, hone in on those messages particularly. And it's all about the needs of those potential members. So it's not about going out there and saying, oh, we're Toastmasters, we're a club, we need more members, we want you to join us, because that doesn't have any appeal. It doesn't sound appealing. It's certainly not going to light my fire in terms of why I should come and check out Toastmasters. Whereas if you talked about my needs and what Toastmasters can offer me, not just at a ground level in terms of the skills, but where that can take me. So what are the types of goals that being a member of Toastmasters can help me achieve? Where can it take me in life? How can it help me become a better human being? If you focus on that and you talk to me about that, I'm going to be much more interested in finding out more about this organization called Toastmasters and what it could possibly do to me, or do for me rather. So that's the things to think about when we talk about awareness. We're going to jump now into some of those tools that you can use to help bring that message to more of your potential members. And there are a few documents here. The first is Let the World Know, which is the Toastmasters International Public Relations Guide. It has some fantastic resources and information in there about free publicity options. So for instance, media releases, social media, all of those types of things, word of mouth, how to make the most of free publicity rather than having to pay for advertising or so on and so forth. That's a fantastic starting point. The next set of documents is the Open House Toolkit. Now, these are official Toastmasters documents that have been compiled by District 69 into an orderly format, and it includes templates, it includes instructions to help your club organize and promote a successful open house event, which is basically your club going out to the world and saying, hey, we are Toastmasters, come and check us out. This is what we can do for you. Come along and see who we are and what we can offer you. Open houses are by far one of the most efficient ways of signing up members very, very quickly. And this toolkit will give you the tools and the templates and the instructions to help you put on a successful event and convert a lot of guests into members very quickly. But it's also a great way to just get the word out about Toastmasters, because in promoting your open house, you're also getting Toastmasters and the brand in front of so many different people. So thinking back to our first video in this series where we had those different numbers and those different percentages, the more people you can get Toastmasters in front of, the more of those potential members are going to come to your club and potentially sign on the dotted line. So that's the Open House Toolkit. And then the third is, again, a District 69 document, a reference cheat sheet that we've created with different ideas around social media. So things that you can post, different tips and hints, how you can maximize your use of Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, etc., to really sell Toastmasters and pique people's interests. So rather than just the usual same old, talking about what we necessarily care about and what's important to us as existing members, but what's going to really light the fire of those potential members out there and what's going to attract their attention and encourage them to find out a little bit more about Toastmasters and then potentially move on to contacting your club. The awareness stage is one of the big failing points for a lot of clubs and Toastmasters in general. There are so many people out there that don't even know that we exist. When you think about what Toastmasters offers, we could have millions upon millions of members if only they knew about us. And so by making use of these tools and some of those different principles, you're going to be able to take all of those people out there who could be Toastmasters and turn them into, again, that little flood heading towards your club. And so this is the end of the awareness stage of the new member journey. Feel free to jump into the next video, part 4, where we're going to run through the prospect stage, which is all about encouraging those potential people, those potential members, now that they're aware about Toastmasters, to come and contact your club. So follow in on the next video and we will talk more soon. So thank you for listening and see you on the flip.